What's up everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is your host Utkarsh, and in this video we are gonna talk about non-fictional books. Before I recommend my favorite non-fictional book, I would love to hear your favorite reads these days, whether it's fiction or non-fiction. What's keeping you up at night? I would love to know that because I'm always looking for books to read. Also, I know a lot of you skeptical about self-help books. I used to be the same, but then out of curiosity I read Atomic Habits, and since then my whole perspective changed and I have become a self-help book addict. So I'm gonna mention several reasons why you should read non-fictional book once in a while. First, they develop critical thinking and expand the reader's horizon. Second, reading non-fiction books helps in debates and discussion. Third, mostly we think that self-help books are about ideals, routines and rituals. That's seriously not the case. They are merely suggestions. And sticking to those ideals, routines and rituals helps you to romanticize your life in a different way. And after all these reasons you still don't want to read non-fictional books, then it's totally okay. Can't blame a guy for trying, right? Equally smart, intellectual, talented or reasonable people can have a different opinion about certain things. It's just we went through a lot of different experience, and those experiences make us like different things, whether it's music or books. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video and start with a recommendation. So my first recommendation is Into the Magic Shop by James R. Doty. It's a James R. Doty memoir. I heard the audiobook first and loved it so much that I ordered the hard copy, and I would recommend you guys get a hard copy too, and there is a reason for that. It tells the story of a boy's journey from scarcity to abundance, from feeling void to spirituality. BTS also wrote a song Into the Magic Shop inspired by this book. James Doty, who becomes this big neurosurgeon, had a rather challenging childhood. As if poverty was enough to deal with, his father was alcoholic and his mother was chronically depressed and paralyzed by a stroke. When he was 12 years old, an incident occurs that completely changes the trajectory of his life as he walks into this magic shop and encounters a woman named Ruth, who teaches him 3 magic tricks to manifest his greatest desires. This book also talks about meditation and manifestation in detail. So if you guys want a detailed manual about meditation, then totally get this book. That is one of the reason I want you guys to get a hard copy of this book. If you love spirituality or open to the concept and wanna know how to manifest in detail, then I couldn't recommend this book enough. My favorite quote from this book is, "There are a lot of things in life we can't control. It's hard, especially when you're a child, to feel like you have control over anything, like you can change anything, but you can control your body and you can control your mind. That might not sound like a lot, but it's very powerful and it can change everything." So my next recommendation is Digital Minimalism by Cal Newport. I've read 2 books by Cal Newport, and in both of them he made me nostalgic for the disconnected world of the 90s, where we used to play board games and hang out with our friends for our entertainment, where we led a much simpler life and wasn't slave to our technology. This book is a guide to reduce your screen time. In simple way, this book endorses an approach where we are intentional with our technology. This book endorses the notion of digital minimalism. Digital minimalism is a philosophy of technology use in which you focus your online time on a small number of carefully selected and optimized activities that strongly support things you value and then happily miss out on everything else. In simple words, he wants all his readers to quit social media, or at least be intentional with these apps like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, which made our digital life increasingly intolerable. The ubiquitous presence of all these social media apps provided a constant distraction to a point that we all have become prone to anxiety, and even a little bit of boredom leads us to scroll through these apps. In the first part of the book, he incites all its readers to accept this new philosophy by providing all this evidence how social media tycoons invested billions and billions of dollars to make these apps more and more addicting, and how all these apps made smartphone their universal platform because of smartphone omnipresence. You might have noticed it too when you try to open Instagram in your Google Chrome on your laptop. You must have seen the drastic difference in interface. It's deliberate. In the second part of the book, author provokes readers to leave social media for a substantial period of time. It can be 30 or 31 days, whatever you think is reasonable, and reintroduce all these attention craving apps back into a life by considering certain prerequisite questions that you ask yourself, as he believes aggressive action needed to be taken to drastically transform our relationship with technology. Some people might be thinking this is too aggressive or extreme, but he has his reasons. On the contrary, I feel like it's victim mentality all over again, saying that smartphone and social media apps ruining our life. I think we humans just don't know how to use our resources and technology in a sustainable manner. We always go beyond the appropriate exposure. What do you guys think that could radically transform our relationship with technology? I would love to hear your views in the comments down below. So my favorite quote from this book are, simply put, humans are not wired to be constantly wired. The tycoons of social media have to stop pretending that they are friendly nerd gods building a better world and admit they are just tobacco farmers in t-shirts selling an addictive product to children, because let's face it, checking your likes is the new smoking. So my next recommendation is You Are Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. This book is given to me by my elder sister in a hope that I would learn the right mindset around money. It's one of the books that have changed her life for good. I think this book will be passed in her family for generations. I have heard lots of audio in the past few months, but no author can narrate their books with such authenticity like Jen Sincero. As I said, this book is about having the right mindset around money. Sex and money are the most taboo topics in our society. The moment we talk about it, we are judged. I grinned when the author stated, and I quote, "When it comes to having sex and making money, you are supposed to know what you're doing and be great at it, but nobody teaches you anything about it because it's inappropriate, dirty, not so classy. We desire both and we judge ourselves for desiring it. We think if someone is seeking currency, that person is probably greedy. We think that we have to sell our soul to the devil to gain wealth. We think that money is the root of all evil." All these wrong kind of mindset will be addressed by Jen Sincero. We really have to get over this wrong mindset that money inherently corrupts everything it touches. There is nothing beautiful what happens to a society when money stops circulating. Money is a tool. It depends on the person's intention, how he or she uses it. Money is not the root of all evil. It's the person that withholds that tool. Jen Sincero will teach you to distinguish between financial independence and financial abundance. Desiring abundance is not greedy. No one will gain anything with you being poor or you being small. There's nothing spiritual about poverty. The criminalized perception we have ingrained since childhood towards wealth will be threatened, and you will have revelations about all your negative mindset towards wealth. Believe me, right around when I was reading this book, I was talking to my sister about the mindset around saving money, and she said that never ever associate a negative emotion with money. Like, think about the mindset when you save money. Some people save thinking if something goes wrong, I will use that money. That's another wrong mindset. Never ever save money with a mindset that if something goes wrong, I will use that money. Then something will definitely go wrong. Save money with a positive mindset, like I will buy a house with this money or a car or anything you desire. Save money because you wanna save, because it's good to always have a substantial amount of money to lead a life with prosperity. If you wanna know about the right mindset around money, I highly recommend this book. I couldn't recommend it enough. And let me know what kind of mindset you have when you save money. My favorite quote from the book is, "Doubts, fears, and other people's rules. No match for a heart on a mission." There's another book I wanna quickly talk about, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. It's seriously good and bestseller these days. I wanna list some lessons that I have taken away from this book as quickly as possible. I don't wanna make this video too long. Lesson number 1. Your personal experience with money makeup may be 0.000000001% of what's happened in the world, but maybe 80% of how you think the world works. Everyone has a unique experience with money, hence a unique relationship with money. Our relationship and experience with money are based on our history, upbringing, the country where we grew up, the economic situation of the country, the financial situation of our family. Lesson number 2. Having a sense of enough money, insatiable desire for more and more, will be the reason for your ruins. You do not need to gamble what you have and you need for what you don't have and don't need. Lesson number 3. Save money. You don't need a specific reason for that. Of course, saving money for a house or a car is great, but saving does not require a goal of purchasing something specific. You can save just for saving's sake. Some people save 10% of their income or paycheck, some even 30%. Lesson number 4. Doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do how you behave. Lesson number 5. Track your money or it will go to someone who does. My favorite quote from this book is, "Some people are born into families that encourage education, others are against it. Some are born into flourishing economies encouraging entrepreneurship, others us are born into war and destitution. I want you to be successful and I want you to earn it. But realize that not all success is due to hard work and not all poverty is due to laziness. Keep this in mind when judging people, including yourself. Therefore, focus less on specific individuals and case studies and more on the broad patterns. I genuinely love this book but felt shortcomings as a reader because in few chapters author used stock market terminology like hedge fund, index fund, which went right over my head. So if you are not from finance world, you might face the same difficulty. Apart from this book is seriously awesome. Moving on to my next recommendation, A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. It's a spiritual book. This book is as wholesome as the title and I was inspired to read this book because of this popular verse, which also explains the essence of this book quite well. And I quote, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frighten us. We ask ourselves who I am to be, brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous. Actually, who you are not to be. You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It's not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our light shine, we unconsciously permit other people to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others." I will leave a link to this poem in my description box down below if any of you guys like it. This book is my personal favorite, especially this poem. Always motivates me during my tough times. This book answers so many of my questions which I was seeking from the universe and I hope it serves the same purpose for you guys. I highly recommend this book to the people who are open to the concept of spirituality. Moving on to my next recommendation, The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. This is another book that is given to me by my elder sister in a hope that I would learn the significance of minimalism, decluttering and organization, as she thinks I'm a messy being. There are people who like it clean and tidy, but there are people who like Monica clean and tidy. Marie Kondo giving so much of the same vibe. This book is about decluttering your home, where Marie Kondo uses KonMari method to help people organize and keep things that spark joy, but discard things that don't spark joy. You would be surprised how thorough she is when it comes to tidying up. She spent her whole life learning about the art of decluttering and now she's helping people all around the world. She talks about how to organize clothes, books, papers, magazines, and she's extremely detailed about it. She's not saying you're a fool for hoarding all of this garbage, get rid of it all at once. Instead, she's saying all of these things came into life for a reason. Show gratitude by placing them at a designated place and let them go on to the next stage of existence if they serve their purpose. Some people might find her suggestion too neurotic, but I believe we all can learn from her. Since childhood, the author always had problems in expressing her emotions. She liked solitude and she had better relationship with her possession than other human beings. My favorite quotes from this book are, "The question of what you want to own is the question of how you want to live your life. The space in which we live should be for the person we are becoming now, not for the person we were in the past." I could talk about minimalism and decluttering for hours. It might bore you to death. So if you want to know more about KonMari method, there are several videos on YouTube. So my last recommendation is a bonus read, The Sandman by Neil Gaiman. It's a fiction and only available as an audiobook. It's a collaboration between DC and Audible. A remarkable adaptation of a graphic novel, The Sandman. It's like you're listening to an audio with a theater experience. I think this is the only audiobook out there where every character is narrated by a different cast, and the quality of cast is too surreal. James McAvoy, Kat Dennings, Taron Egerton, and so many more. The Sandman is a story of a place that we go when we close our eyes at night, and it's called the Dreaming. The Dreaming is ruled by Morpheus, aka Dreamlord, aka the Endless, which is no other than James McAvoy. The whole audiobook is a collection of tales where a common thread is Morpheus. And the most amazing thing is that Netflix already making a series of The Sandman. That was it, guys. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this video, and please let me know what you're reading these days because I'm always looking for books to read. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next one.